This video will dive into 3 stories that left quite a footprint online. If you're expecting to see a happy ending here, turn away, because there isn't one here to be found. One more time I will take you on a dark journey, where we are going to look at 3 different YouTubers. Just to give you a brief summary of them, one of them was a well-respected programmer and a father who did the most sickest and disturbing thing you can imagine right now. The second is an extremely religious person whose name will always linger through the hallways of the school where he last set foot. And the last one was a case of a martyr, sort of. It was a very odd case that left me quite speechless as I started to research this topic. I have done my best to present each story with as much details as possible so that you can form your own opinion about them. Just a quick thanks to my Patreons, and if you find this video any good, you know what to do. Also, thing to note, if you enjoyed this video, there are many more parts awaiting on my channel, so you can check them out if you didn't already. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy this video. This entry is about a guy whose life will definitely make you sick to your stomach. I won't sugarcoat it, because there is no point in doing that. This is once more a very sad but real tale about a person on the internet who is living a double life. Now let's travel back in time here for a bit. Would you agree with me that the internet culture 20 years ago and now are 2 completely different entities? One of the things that stands out very much now is the social media platforms, which in the mid-2000s were almost non-existent and very underdeveloped from the things we have nowadays. So let's go to 2006. Some of you remember this year because of a particular game. In my case, it's the year where I first tried The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, while others may recall it because of a certain album that was released during the time. It was also the time when both Reddit and YouTube were in the early stages. Nowadays there is a channel or a subreddit for every niche you can imagine. However, during those times, this trend was somewhat of its infancy. The story begins with a Reddit user, later even moderator, called Carl Herold. Carl Herold made an account on Reddit in 2006, and in his first few years, he was mostly inactive and mostly just looking stuff up. But this would change on September 23, 2009, with a post that went viral, so to say. You see, I think I didn't mention that Carl was a very skilled programmer, so he decided to post on the subreddit r/programming. Is anyone here not a programmer, but you want to learn? The post was basically stating how Carl has 15 years of experience in the field of programming, and how he would like to help beginners to learn, and he would offer these services completely free of charge. This was definitely a generous thing to do, and it's no wonder that people started to reach out to Carl to be under his wing. Because the demand was too high, Carl could not keep up to have many students at once. The numbers were very limited. A user by the name of Mosky suggested that Carl should create his own subreddit. Carl thought about this, and because he didn't see any other way to make people happy, he created a subreddit called Programming Lessons and Tutorials by Carl Herold. The next obvious step was to create a YouTube channel under the name simply Carl Herold, where he would post various tutorials to help his pupils, but anyone who was seeking help. Today his channel sits at 33,000 subscribers and over 6 million views, with the first video posted on July 8, 2012. He even went so far that he created a separate site called Computer Science for Everyone. Just to note, this site is currently down. Carl was very respected by the programming community and a good teacher. And why should Carl not be respected by the community? He was taking time from his life to help thousands of people online to get into programming for free. It's definitely noble. But there was a quite odd post, where he was seeking help from Reddit. Reddit, can you help me? For 5 years I have lived with this, and I do not know what to do. The post was about how Mark was ripped off by a guy who was an internet marketer, or he thought so. The guy was simply a con artist, and basically he demanded compensation for his work, which he didn't deserve at all, and demanded a lot of money. Carl even stated, "In 2005 I started losing clients. Sales become impossible to make. He threatened that if I don't pay him, he would ruin my reputation." The guy went so far that he posted a false rip-off report where he claimed that Carl stole from his checking account. The guy was hurting his reputation and his livelihood. And this rip-off report would be the first thing you would see when you look up his name. Redditors did what they do best. They managed to help Carl by pushing this article so far away that it landed on the 5th page of Google, and it was further with every day. But that was the least the community could do for Carl. Another interesting thing to point out, that Carl was even named the Redditor of the Day on July 26, 2012. People commented how Carl was very nice and approachable. So after presenting his online persona to you, what would you think about him? He seems like a nice and cool dude willing to help. But sadly, this isn't the case, as he would not land on this Iceberg chart series. There is something here so horribly wrong, you won't be able to comprehend the things you're going to hear right now. This well-respected member of the programming community suddenly vanished. There was no trace of him, and the community started to theorize where Carl could be. After all, Carl was a guy who was frequently online, doing his YouTube videos and being active on the subreddit. And this was totally out of character for him. Obviously something was up. The students definitely awaited his comeback. But the diligent people of Reddit started to discover some news articles about someone named Carl Herold. In this case, sadly nothing harming didn't happen to Carl. This article was about his 8-year-old son. I will now read you the head article about him. Alabama man videotaped his son with another man in an interstate child ring. This was the same Carl that people used to love on the internet. He had an 18-year-old son locked in his basement. He prevented his son from going to school or outside in general, making even threats. If he would ever tell somebody about this, he would kill him.
New information tonight in the case of a man charged with producing and distributing child pornography. WHNT News 19's Daniela Paralon joins us now live in Huntsville with those details. Daniela.
Police Carl Philip Herold was arrested on several charges of child pornography related charges just last month. Initially, law enforcement officials were tight-lipped about what those charges entailed, but tonight court documents are showing what led to those charges. 3 charges equally disturbing. Carl Philip Herold has been charged with production of pornography with a minor, production and display of child pornography, and permitting a child to engage in pornography. Court documents show Herold is accused of knowingly producing, recording, and photographing images of a 9-year-old boy. According to documents, the video recorded the child as he was being sexualized and sexually tortured. Further charges accuse Herold of publicly sharing the videos and images of the sexual abuse.
This was going on for 2 whole years. Just to paint you a picture of how grotesque this was, the police were so disgusted by the evidence they found, they could hardly bear to look at the videos and the photos to identify the boy. Carl wasn't alone in this, as his partner by the name Charles Donovan was in the same basket. The police managed to seize over 100 images, including videos with Carl, his partner and his son, which were then illegally spread and sold over the internet. YouTube and Reddit users felt surprised and couldn't believe that this was the same Carl who was such a simple and helping individual. A guy who would even go for free on Skype with you just to make sure everything is clear about his lessons. Some speculate his IT background helped him a lot by running this ring of distributions, as he would know how to avoid the traps from the police. But in the end, Carl Herold managed to avoid the sentence, and he would never face any of the consequences for his disturbing actions. He denied obviously everything in court, but this didn't help a lot. He and Donovan bails were set to $1 million. His partner, Charles Donovan, was sentenced to 36 years in prison for his part of the house in November 2015 and additional 20 years the following December. On January 12, 2019, Carl Herold was found hanging in the Alabama jail. He definitely took the easy way out to avoid facing the charges and a lifetime in jail. But did he? Well, there is a post on his subreddit where someone posted, "Hey, it's me from heaven." The account claimed that Carl faked his death and was living in Russia. But I don't wanna go here in crazy conspiracy theories, even if I would like to research such topics for you. If you're a fan of conspiracy theories, I mean. There are many interesting theories we could explore together. Just drop a comment down below if you want to see me cover such topics. Now I want to end this entry with something that is crucial to remember. Not everything is as it seems. We are living in an age where everyone can create their online persona with just a few clicks. It is easy to fall prey to deception and manipulation. Behind the polished facades are carefully crafted images, and behind them sometimes lies a sick and twisted monster you would never imagine to find. The only thing I hope is that his son, wherever he currently is, has found peace and good life. Carl's Reddit and YouTube channel are still up, becoming a chilling part of the internet history, and he definitely left quite a disturbing footprint on the internet.
Atheists calling creation is ignorant. Is there an intelligent atheist? Is there an atheist that wants to be civil? Is there an atheist that can see the truth for what it is? No, there isn't.
The next is a downward spiral of an individual who had extremely religious beliefs. He was fueled with aggression and anger. Even if he was a religious person, he would often stand up to everyone who didn't was like-minded. His name will forever linger through the hallways of the Henry Ford Community College like no other before. Anthony Tony Powell was born in 1980 and he was described as a good child. In his younger years of school, Tony was not amongst the popular crowd, probably because he was described as a shy child. An important thing to mention is that Tony has battled some demons since a young age. Depression was a thing that haunted this young individual and would be his ultimate demise. His parents would also tell the public that Tony would often refuse to take any medications he was prescribed.
My child, I know, had challenges, but we tried for years to give him the help he needed, and it just wasn't out there. There was no way they could help my son.
Which we all know isn't a good thing at all. To get a bit away from the thoughts that plagued his mind, he turned to YouTube. Tony made his first upload in 2007, so he can share his beliefs with the people willing to hear him out. Well, first, to get it out of the way, Tony had few channels under his name, the one you see listed on the screen. Also, a thing to notice that this entry is considered somewhat of lost media because most of his videos are lost to time. Just some of them were archived and uploaded online. The reason he had so many channels is because of his fair share of controversy due to making videos about hating black women and especially atheists. During the years he was active, he was a racist, to put it lightly. Tony was not your typical Christian content creator, but his father and mother raised him in a Christian household and Tony took religion very seriously. Tony's views were extremely controversial and he would often have public rants, but mostly about atheists. They were the spawns of devil, they were evil, calling them non-human.
Are the fallen angels of the devil. You can call them that, you can call them demons, they're tools of the devil that have been deceived. And since these atheists have been deceived by the devil, then they are not, I don't even want to consider them to be human, but we can't not call them human, right? They're disgusting, they're filthy animals, they hate Christians.
And comparing them to animals. As mentioned before, he also hated women. He explains how they need to be obedient and submissive to their husbands. And they should not ask any questions.
Her man, and is obedient to her husband, submissive to her husband.
This thing would spiral down calling out black women. He would post a video called "Black Women Doesn't Deserve Respect." The point of the video was that black women nowadays kill thousands of babies because they have abortions. There were many more controversial opinions like this. Some people agreed with his views, but many did not. Tony was a very aggressive and often tried to push his agenda on everybody who stood in front of him, often posting video response on YouTube. Because of that, he also acquired many haters and trolls along the way. But Tony's religion spreading nature would not end on just posting videos. No, Tony would also troll and attack people who are atheists or people he considered his enemies. This is where our story leads us to a girl named Asia McGowan, a 20-year-old girl. She had a cheerful personality, she loved to dance and also attended theater classes. But among all those things, Asia was also an atheist and her opinions on religion and women's rights were on a completely opposite spectrum than Tony's views. They both have attended the Henry Ford Community College, but they didn't were aware of this. Tony, in one of his many sleepless nights, found the channel of Asia and became completely obsessed with her. Tony even started stalking her and sending a post towards Asia online. Asia could not post something without being attacked by Tony's various fake channels he created. Asia, because of all the hate towards her, made a video addressing her hater. But Tony wasn't a guy with whom you can reason with. Many people saw that his mental health wasn't the best. He felt very disconnected from reality. People would even reach out to the police so they can do a checkup on Tony, but this sadly didn't happen. A thing that also concerned many people was that Tony was rambling about suicide thoughts, and here we will find out for a fact that he possesses a weapon.
There's absolutely nothing for me to do in this life. I don't have no purpose. There's no point. There's no point to me living anymore. I really am thinking about myself. And I'm pretty much going to do it. And I'm so scared. I don't have my computers anymore. The only thing that I have are my and that's not going to be pretty, man.
A pump action gun to be more exact. If you combine everything that I said now, you can only end up in a disaster and tragedy. April 10, 2009. It was a sunny Friday at the Henry Ford Community College. Asia McGowan was attending class in the later hours of the morning. She was the only one in the class and packing her things up after the class ended. Little did she know that her troll was entering the school. Anthony entered the Mackenzie Fine Arts Center and made his way towards a classroom. The classroom was F111. There he found no other than Asia, who was packing her stuff and was just about to leave. She, as we previously discussed, was also a fellow YouTuber who was bullied by him. Asia looked at Tony and immediately recognized him as the troll who was stalking her online. But then she saw that Tony was armed and Asia's blood ran cold. She tried to run away towards the exit and started to scream. Tony then aimed and shot Asia in the back. But she was still alive. Tony then dragged her back to the classroom, where he landed one more hit to finish the job. Christian Plonka, a 12-year-old boy, at the time was doing a radio commercial in the school. He heard a gunshot and wanted to investigate what happened. Then he saw Asia walking wounded with a bloody back. Before Tony appeared, grabbed her and dragged back to the classroom. And suddenly, one more shot was heard. Christian and the other students in the program ran into the parking lot at the campus, where they waited until the police allowed them to leave. I don't know if we can consider Christian a brave or a fool, but the good thing is that he managed to get out without being spotted by Tony. By the time the police arrived, Christian and the other students heard one more shot that echoed through the school. It was the third and last shot they would hear that day. Tony, for reasons unknown, decided to unalive himself with a shotgun used on Asia. Most probably because this was his intention all along. He previously stated in his video that he is awaiting this day and that he was scared. Tony accomplished the goal he was thinking about. As a result of this, his channel and the troll channels he made were suspended and terminated by an unknown user after the shooting. Also, the Indianapolis Recorder made a post about him titled "It commits murder, suicide in classroom." This isn't something you would often hear from news articles. Also, a thing to note that the police in that article stated they found a shotgun, not a classic pump action, just as a little note. The question is, could this tragedy be avoided? Is there here someone to blame? The parents stated they couldn't believe he was gone and they felt very sorry for the girl and her family, but they didn't know about his only activity.
He's dead. He's gone. There's nothing we can do. We didn't know anything about him doing anything like that. And I offer my condolences to that family of that dead child.
Could his family force him to take his medication? Could the people who knew Tony and reported him helped him in another way? Or would it all be in vain? These are all questions that are not important now. The life of a young girl was cut short, so was Tony's by his own hand. Tony did what he did and definitely left a mark on Asia's family, his own and the whole campus, which was not the same anymore. A history of mental illness and extremely religious views led Tony on a dark path. So if you're feeling alone or depressed, reach out, there are many people willing to help, and you don't need to fight your demons alone.
You are important. You mean something. And you're going to go out there and you're going to do some wonderful things.
To still be in the community without telling others that this sort of person was around, that to me is borderline sickening, if not sickening of itself.
That JewWario was a simple
And if nobody else ever tells you this, I will tell you this. I care about you.
Let's end this video with a very odd case about a nice guy who managed to deceive everybody around him, even his own wife. At least it's a story about how the truth will always prevail, no matter how gross and disturbing it is. This entry is about a guy called JewWario, otherwise known as Justin Carmichael. Like the previous two entries, this is also about a YouTuber who started very early. JewWario joined YouTube on December 28, 2006. And looking at his videos, at least those pre-2010, felt somewhat nostalgic. Gaming videos back then were a bit different and more innocent somehow, I think. But innocence isn't a word I would use to describe JewWario, sadly. His channel wasn't popular until 2008 when he posted a video "You Can Play This, Quest of Kai" on December 19, 2008. He was best known for his series "Can You Play It?" He would import games from Japan and, like the title suggests, he would see if you can play the game even if you don't know Japanese. This is definitely an interesting idea, especially for the time. He would not only review the games he imported, but also give the audience hints on how to play successfully. He would definitely fill a quite a specific niche with the videos he made and would often do collaborations with other creators. His channel managed to get a little over 30,000 subscribers. That's the time he caught the eyes of Channel Awesome and became their sidekick on April 24, 2009. Because of his upbeat funny character, he was very beloved. But in 2013, he announced he would not be producing and helping Channel Awesome anymore. Many felt very surprised by this. But then, on January 23, 2014, at the age of 42, JewWario did something even more unexpected. Justin's wife announced on Facebook that he has taken his life by shooting himself with a shotgun. She wrote that he had locked himself in the bathroom and he said goodbye to his wife and fans and unalived himself just inches from the person he loved. The life of this YouTuber ended in a terrible way and many felt sad. He reignited a discussion of suicide among YouTubers. His fellow YouTube friends came out to speak about JewWario and how he was a nice person and nobody did expect something like this to happen. Now this is not where the story ends. Even if his death sparked numerous questions from his friends and creators, there is here a bit more to the story. After all, JewWario would not be on this list. His wife said that he was in a bad mental state and that they did have some financial struggles. Of respect, people online would often put his signature yellow hat on their profile pictures. many people have fond memories of this small upbeat YouTuber. But just a few years later, some revelations would emerge and the public would be shocked. JewWario, like I said, was the part of the Channel Awesome group, and there were like 40 creators in this group, if I'm correct. In 2018, the Channel Awesome received a heavy blow. The producers under the channel created and leaked a document titled Not So Awesome, a 70-page long document detailing a decade of things that happened in the company. As you would assume from the name of the document, there were some things happening that weren't so good, or to say not so awesome. In this document they would detail their abuse as well as neglect, misconduct and manipulation at the hands of the CEOs, including poor management and favoritism. But if you turn the document on the page 66, it's a testimony of a victim referring to herself as Jane Doe. Listen to this. The following story is from an anonymous contributor we call Jane Doe, recounting the story of a former producer who had sexually abused her, and claiming that the management was aware of the site's producer deviancy for a year and did nothing. This goes further with Jane Doe. Anyway, you all know me back then. Physically, I was 18, but I had a mind of a 16-year-old at best. He crushed me, convinced me to take off my clothes for him, told me he wanted to teach me how to kiss, fuck, etc. Made it seem like he was teaching someone how to read. This was set around 2012, and apparently Channel Awesome knew about this for a whole year and did nothing. Because of this, Channel Awesome didn't take any proper action. They made a sort of apology coming out, but it was written off by the fans, and they started to lose thousands of subscribers per day. The creator of Channel Awesome wanted to get rid of this one member who was accused of sexual abuse, but they didn't state any name. Due to some screenshot analysis, people would figure out the channel is planning to fire the deviant, but again, not stating names. Then, somehow 2 days later, we discovered on February 15, 2013, JewWario would left the Channel Awesome. But on April 12, 2018, a Reddit user shared a post on Channel Awesome's Reddit site in the comments. She revealed that she was not Jane Doe, but she was also allegedly raped by JewWario after making several attempts to convince him to leave her alone. And he would not stop. Then the girl stated she would fall asleep just to be awoken by JewWario, who was on top and itself. She also then stated she wanted to come out for quite some time, but due to JewWario's nice personality online, it wasn't an easy task. The fanbase thought of her as a troll and said that what she said was the equivalent of accusing of a puppy of a murder. Later legitimacy of this post has been confirmed by the former TGVTG forum admin Holly Christine Brown and the former producer Yesu Otako.
A possible victim can feel like they can be gaslit if they come out with saying their story, or feel like no one's going to believe me. Right. Which I think one of the potential victims or alleged victims said that. It's like, I feel like, oh, this guy's treated like a pillar of the community, a beacon. What if I say something? I'm going to be automatically deemed a liar.
His former YouTube friends started to come out and also stated how JewWario would behave very weirdly around his fans at conventions.
There were things I saw that left me uncomfortable. Nothing I saw that was illegal, by the way, but just things that I thought were a little over the line. You know, I saw him give fans like shoulder and back rubs. Like they were willing participants, but the fact that he was doing that like in hallways outside of panels at MagFest, I thought was kind of inappropriate to do that. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can get a reputation for being like that.
So nobody questioned why JewWario would give back rubs to young girls. Now the fact that his wife was on the other side of the bathroom begging him to stop is a bit sad. She allegedly didn't know anything about this. I don't know what disturbs me more, the fact that Channel Awesome had knew about those things for quite some time, or the fact that the abuse victim stood there and watched how the internet is glorifying this YouTuber. Don't know how many victims there were or how many will yet to come out. They even made a tribute video about his series, and the management knew about this but never bothered to tell the actress about this. I guess JewWario felt that the storm was coming and took the easy way out. To be declared as a victim of depression or stress in society, I don't know, but obviously not because of the deeds he has committed. Basically, he would be declared as a martyr. This is a way to make his life look stainless. Until some years later, the allegations started to drop, and one by one they have been confirmed to be true. Because of that, JewWario's fans went from being sad about his loss to completely furious. JewWario was a master manipulator and managed to craft a persona of a nice and approachable guy, but as we saw, he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and manipulating girls, and I hope they are at least okay now. I also feel somewhat sorry for his wife if it's true that she didn't know about this and about his true nature, being heartbroken by the loss of the person you love the most, to then discover that you didn't know this person at all actually. His YouTube channel is still up if you want to explore this rabbit hole. Whoa, you reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope you're enjoying this series. I am also planning to do a spin-off of this series in a way where I would cover perhaps the darkest moments in TV history and more stuff like this. I mean, what do you think? Does it sound interesting for you? And if you want to help this channel a bit more, consider joining my Patreon for extra perks, but a simple like is more than enough. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've been Snorky, and until the next deep dive, please stay safe.